All right, welcome into another episode of The Lab presented by Wolverine. And I know I like to intro this by saying we have a very special guest, but I really mean it this time. We have a very special guest. Let me give you a quick intro. John U. Bacon, he's a best-selling author, and his latest book, Let Them Lead, which is about coaching high school hockey. Good Morning America called you the real Ted Lasso. And I must say this. It goes one step further because John U. Bacon was my professor back in college, back in my days as a Michigan Wolverine. So that means the most to me. But you are an amazing man, a great author, and to be called the real Ted Lasso, that's big stuff, John.
It was fun. Absolutely. The book, here's the shameless plug, Jake. Let Them Lead, Unexpected Lessons in Leadership from America's Worst High School Hockey Team. Not making that up. And I was the worst player in school history. So combine those two things and yes, success. But it did work. I stole a lot from Bo Schembechler, Herb Brooks, the 1980 Olympic coach who beat the Soviets, Red Berenson, Michigan's hockey coach, and some others. So it worked. But anyway, that was fun. But you mentioned teaching at Michigan. Hey, I only can say so much legally, Jake, thanks to FERPA laws. I'm not allowed to talk about students' grades and so on. But Jake Butt was a serious student. That class was 8:30 in the morning, Mondays and Wednesdays, and that man was there on time, ready to go every time. His work prepared. When you see him on TV doing such a killer job, and you're doing a great job on TV, I can tell you this right now. I know better than almost anybody, that man does his homework. So fans out there, you're looking at the real deal. So Jake, it's a real pleasure.
Listen, you make it easy. I mean, there's some professors when you see you got an 8:30 class and you're like, ooh, that is going to be a long semester. Your class, somehow in a big like auditorium, you were able to involve every student, which I just think that's a great lesson on leadership. Make sure people are paying attention. So I kind of want to start there, though, John, and talk about a little bit about leadership in lessons, because I look at this season in college football as a whole. Indiana is a great example of this, where in comes Curt Cignetti. And I think because of the current landscape of NIL and the transfer portal, players have leverage. And I've talked to coaches where they feel they can't coach the way they did 10 years ago. And then in comes Cignetti, and I think he doesn't care about the status quo or the rules. He is a standard. And because the players are living up to that standard, they're winning, which reinforces the standard. Can you kind of maybe talk about what you're observing from a leadership standpoint in these strange times we're living in college football?
Best damn question I've gotten all fall. So good job. Because people are, and in the corporate world too, the same thing is happening. All this generation, they're soft. We need beanbag chairs and kombucha machines and, casual Fridays and Taco Tuesdays, or else we can't get anybody. And now college coaches feel the same way because of NIL. We need the fanciest locker room. This check, that check, that check. Everyone's getting paid now legally. So all this stuff, they feel like they can't push you or else you're going to transfer or quit midseason, et cetera. And some will. That fear is not crazy. But if you coach that way, if you coach out of fear, it will never work. As they say in the movie business, movies get made for two reasons: passion and fear doesn't work.
What about spite? Because sometimes coaches, I know a lot of coaches, maybe I wouldn't say they don't fear, but they end up spiting certain players. And I think that doesn't work either. So what does work?
Here's what does work. A weird combination of the past and the new. The past, you have to have high standards. And Cignetti, like you said, is doing exactly that. So I've been very impressed by him. Look, the Navy SEALs might be the hardest job in the world. It pays $54,000 a year. They take 6% of those who apply. Why can they be that picky? Because they don't apologize for being hard. They don't deny that it's hard. They brag about it. They celebrate it. And that's the whole point of being a Navy SEAL. All right. And when I talk to companies about this and now coaches say, well, if I do that, I can't get everybody. Yeah, you're right. Who the hell wants everybody?
Yeah.
I hate to diss on McDonald's here, but McDonald's versus Chick-fil-A, they're drawn from the same pool. And Chick-fil-A is a pit stop at Indy, and it's a great experience, and I love it. And God bless McDonald's, but it ain't. And that's the difference. So, yeah, you're right. You won't get them all. Cignetti does not want them all. He's not going to get the players that go to Alabama or probably Michigan necessarily. But what he's got, he's coaching them up. So that's one thing, is keep the high standards. But the second thing, and this is what we do in your class, is you let them lead. That's the hard part. Some coaches can be high standards, but they're control freaks. Other ones aren't control freaks, let the players do whatever they want. But now you've got, the prisoners running the asylum. is the idea. So you need to have both things. Here are my standards, but you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And by the way, for what it's worth, Harbaugh assigned the book to his entire staff a few years ago and talked to his son, by the way, talked to Jay. They coach this way. And it works. High standards, but you will instill them. You will enforce them. And you don't want everybody. Don't take everybody. And if someone is simply not meeting your standard, I don't care if they're an All-American or what, you cut them. And one cut like that, and everyone pays attention.
Right. Well, one of my takeaways from that is, hey, we're paying taxes. Let's get the Navy SEALs should be making. What about inflation? Let's get them at least to six figures. All right, that's a hard job. Let's get them to six figures. The second one is, and to kind of go to bring it all in with your book, with Coach Harbaugh, with Cignetti, and some of these lessons, I have found, when I look back at my career, like the fondest memories I have, they had a little bit of, there was always a challenge. It's just like any great story. Like there has to be a challenge or an obstacle or adversity. And that's when you can start to feel the magic. When you talk about like the Soviets versus the US hockey team, like the underdogs, nothing was easy about that. And in today's world, it does seem like in sports, we're looking for ways to make things easier. Do you get the sense that is that something we just make in headlines? It's a low hanging fruit. Do you get the sense that maybe there's some of that going on?
It's absolutely true. So when I talk to corporations about this kind of stuff and coaches, they all say, well, this generation is different. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, honestly, Jake, I don't think I can teach my class the same way I did before.
Really?
As you recall, I used to smash a cell phone with a hammer. Now they didn't know it was my cell phone. But I think I'd probably be jailed for that, even as a prank, doing that now. So there is some of that. However, there will still be some coaches out there who keep the bar higher than others, and the ones who keep the bar higher will attract those who are attracted to that. You're the kind of guy, Jake, that you wanted a challenge. And when Harbaugh came in 2015, you gave me some great quotes for the book End Zone. You said, look, we were working hard under Brady Hoke, and he's a very good guy by all accounts. We didn't know what hard work really was till Harbaugh got there with his 4-hour practices, which is legal. So yeah, I mean, it changes everything. And I'm going to bet your best memories are from the hardest struggles, 2015, 2016. Oh, yeah. Those are great battles. And the pride of Pickering, the pride of Pickerington, Ohio, Jake Butt, going down to Columbus, and you almost had the damn thing. You almost had it. I hate to tell you, you live with that one the rest of your life. But
I know.
It's supposed to get better over time. It doesn't. I'm telling you that right now. But anyway, the point being that you want the guys who want the challenge.
Yeah.
And by making things too soft, you're going to attract guys who want that. You recall Jed Fish a few years ago at Texas A&M had the highest payroll, if you will, of anybody. And that team went like 5-7. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So the old way still some merit.
Big shout out to our sponsor, Wolverine, as there is a new collab with Wolverine and U of M football players, guys like Colston Loveland, Alex Orji, Donovan Edwards, Mason Graham, all your favorite players, basically. You can head over. You can see it all over social media. These guys doing photo shoots. What can't they do? Modeling the new clothes in new gear. I'm wearing the flannel, as you guys know. It's fall. Got to wear flannels. But there is a new special edition Michigan branded Wolverine work boot. It's beautiful for the fall. Actually would go really well with this flannel. So basically, if you guys want to shop this collection, shop the new work boots, shop the new collab between Alex Orji, Mason Graham, Colston Loveland, all these guys, head over to wolverine.com/blue collar. Again, that's wolverine.com/blue collar to shop the collection and learn more about Wolverine's NIL campaign with hardworking Michigan football players. I mean, it's important to say how different being a head coach is from being a coordinator. Like there's very little carryover, actually, especially when you're not calling plays. It is a complete 180. And what we would say, what our coaches would always say is it's okay to make mistakes. Don't be a repeat offender. So for Sharon Moore, like this is all brand new stuff. Even last year when he was on the sidelines, Coach Harbaugh was there. That was a game day suspension. Coach Harbaugh was there from Sunday all the way through Friday night. So it was a game day suspension. So a lot of this is brand new for Sharon, adding on top of the fact that they lost as much as the team lost.
And you're from Ohio. Guys from Ohio, they all already know about the Buckeye game. Bo Schmeckler knew about the Ohio State rivalry, of course. what surprises everybody when they get to campus is what a big deal the Michigan State game is, because it does not get the national attention that Ohio State does, but it's huge. And whenever I talk to you guys, and you've got some good quotes on this, Jake, when I talk to the players, the Michigan players, they say, man, Ohio State is the game, obviously. And yet the day after the Michigan State game is when I feel the worst.
Yeah.
That is when the bruises add up. Would you say that you take a second ice bath?
Yeah, right. You're doubling your ice baths after this one, man. It's that physical.
And this is where everyone's paying a ton of money for all these coaches and have to be named coaches and so on. And Lane Kiffin always gets a job. But man, there are a lot of guys at the MAC. There are a lot of guys in the group of five who are great coaches. You got Creighton at EMU. He's done a phenomenal job. If you can get 7 wins at EMU, trust me, you're doing a hell of a job, because it's not built for that. There are a lot of great coaches that have not been picked up. And obviously he's done a phenomenal job. He hasn't got the horses that other teams have, but do you want to play him? If I'm Ohio State, if I'm one of those guys, heads up. That team can do some damage.
Right. Could you take me down memory lane here? I know we got to let you go here in a little bit, but
now we're good.
So D'Antonio, there's the pride before the fall quote, right? Mike Hart, the little brother quote. I want to start there. And then I know there's a number of quotes that, I might not have even been born yet to hear, but could you, what was the setting maybe for D'Antonio leading up to the pride comes before the fall? Why did he say that? Can you lay it out a little bit for me?
Sure. Look, man, this rivalry goes back before Michigan State actually opened its doors. When the state legislature in the 1850s was trying to decide where to put the agricultural college, Michigan wanted it badly. It's a myth to say that Michigan didn't want it. They wanted it badly. When I went to East Lansing instead, the Michigan president and professors were nasty about it and had a lot of nasty quotes about it being a second-rate affair and blah, blah, blah. There it starts, man. This thing started from day one. You got Biggie Munn, former captain at Minnesota of Fritz Chrysler, Michigan's legendary coach. He ends up being the coach at Michigan State, and Fritz Chrysler wouldn't talk to the man. So the Paul Bunyan Trophy starts in 1953 between the two teams, and Michigan declared in 1953 if they win it, they were not going to pick it up. Well, they lost anyway, 14-6. Wow. 1973 going forward, 73 a 10-10 tie between Michigan and Ohio State, but Michigan State delivers what is probably the deciding vote, 6-4, I think, against Michigan by Bert Smith, the former Michigan hockey player, now the AD at Michigan State. And then Darryl Rogers is the head coach in the 70s, ended up being an NFL coach for the Lions and elsewhere. And he said that AA does not stand for Ann Arbor. It stands for arrogant asses.
Oh, that's great.
Still one of my favorites. So,
wow.
Oh, yeah. And it's on, man. You got the clock game with Desmond Howard. Then we're going forward. D'Antonio. So Michigan loses, of course, that game against Appalachian State when you're probably in junior high school or something. Yeah. It's considered by many to be still the most shocking loss in college football history. Mm-hmm. And D'Antonio's told this on the field, I believe, as he's leaving their game. And he said, let's have a moment of silence. That's what he said at that. Wow. So, I don't think Lloyd Carr, at the coach at the time at Michigan, took too kindly to that one.
Right.
And Michael Hart didn't. So Michael Hart, when they beat Michigan State that year, he made a little brother comment. That was in response to D'Antonio's moment of silence. And then comes the pride, comes before the fall and all that. So, so it's been going on. I think the D'Antonio years were particularly hot. But give the man credit. He beat Michigan 8 out of 10 times. Biggie Munn won national titles at Michigan State. Duffy Doherty won national titles at Michigan State. Neither one of them ever went 8-2 against Michigan. So give the man his due. So it's on right now, no question about it. It might have calmed down some with D'Antonio and Harbaugh both gone. Here's the breakdown of in Bacon's terms. Michigan and Ohio State, okay, huge rivalry. But as you say, the word is respect. There's a ton of respect between those two programs, coaches, players. I think there's very little trash talk during the game, but you know better than I. But you play the game. Whereas the fans, Michigan and Ohio State, hate each other. You can't tailgate down there if you're a Michigan fan or this and that. I mean, get your rent-a-car in Toledo to make sure it's got the Ohio plates, to make sure your car does not get keyed on the way out of the game. Right. So a lot of that. So respect for the players, very little amongst the fans, although I got plenty of Buckeye friends. I'm sure you do too. Michigan State's the opposite. The fans tailgate, almost all the tailgates are mixed, blue and green. You go walk around and they all get along. They have friends, cousins, etc., brothers, sisters. They all hang out together. They all do this together, but not the players. The players, I think, genuinely hate each other. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. You're right. And part of it too is how the amount of crazy plays that have happened. The trouble with the snap. What was the game? Was it 2022 with Kenneth Walker? David Ojabo sacks the quarterback. Is his shin down? Like there's always seems to be like controversy that happens in this game.
The clock game, the Desmond Howard play. And you need that for a rivalry to really work. It can't just be this coach or that coach, because those guys come and go. Right. It's got to be within the culture. And you said an underlying current of bitterness. No, or what would you use? Not bitterness.
Yeah, spite or bitterness is good too, but spite.
Not underlying. It's just right there.
Why has this becomes a night game? Like why, it feels like there's been more and more night games lately. Is there any?
Sure it's TV that does that.
Okay.
They make that call, but this is not a game that needs a night game to get jacked up.
No.
And I'll say also, I think that it's an underrated rivalry.
Yes.
It's been a great rivalry. And look, D'Antonio 8 out of 10. That's you cannot call that not a rivalry. Holy smokes.
It being a night game, those days are long and exhausting. You have to manage your emotions. And what Coach Harbaugh would do is he would make sure the team wakes up. He'd let you sleep in, but you'd go for a walk. Like you'd do something so you're not sitting in your hotel room all day thinking about the game. That's mentally exhausting. So which coach manages the day better will be a big advantage, That
is a great real player insight that Jake Butt delivers and few others can. The only reason I would even know about that is during the Rich Rod years, I was inside the program for 3 and Out, that book, and then I was inside the Penn State program with Bill O'Brien during 2012. So I was with the guys in the locker room, in the hotel rooms and so on. And my God, it's like caged animals. Tigers just walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, waiting for the meal. Yeah. And it is 12 hours of kind of nonstop tension.
Yeah.
From the time you wake up to the time the game is actually played. When the buses finally leave for the game, it's a relief, I think, from what I saw. You tell me.
Yes.
But you're right. Sharon has not got that experience. You had a great insight earlier about becoming a head coach. Being an OC only has so much to do with it. And even my piddlesome little high school hockey program, Ann Arbor Huron River Rats. How about that? When I became assistant coach to head coach, Bo Schimbeck himself put 2 fingers in my chest. Bacon, are you listening to me? Yeah, coach, I'm listening.
Yeah.
He says, Bacon, you were the assistant coach. You made all these suggestions. Well, guess what? Now you're the head coach. You make all the damn decisions. Now we're going to see how smart you really are.
That's Sharon.
That exactly. Those are not the same jobs. I'm not saying Sharon is going to fail at this, but I'm saying, and I said it before his first game, you really don't know what you're going to get with a new coach until you put him out there. Yeah. And the reason you took Michigan took Sharon over DeBoer, who went to Alabama, of course, and wanted, I believe, the Michigan job, is that, okay, DeBoer's a proven coach, but Sharon knows the culture. If the culture is that important, and you think he can do it, and he had a trial run, if you will, as Jim's backup last season, then it's a chance worth taking. But it's always going to be a risk hiring any new coach. It just is. Yeah. And you don't know how it turns out for another 2 years at least.
And I'll say this, it's a double-edged sword to be one of the elite programs in the country, because sure, you get resources and you get recognition and it helps with recruiting, but it also means you're going to get the best from every one of your opponents. And I remember in 2013, 2014, when we struggled as a program, my early years, teams felt that there was blood in the water. Like teams, it was their Super Bowl to come in there and try to get a punch and get a jab on Michigan. That's what I feel this year is. Last year, teams would watch Michigan on film and say, realistically, they knew there really wasn't a chance to beat them. Right. This year, teams are saying, hey, wait a second, guys, you can beat Michigan. And there's something about that to opponents to say, man, that's a season-defining win for a number of programs.
How many guys went to Illinois, went to Indiana, went to Michigan State and never beat Michigan? Now, maybe not the second case with Antonio, not many, but a lot of guys. I recall the Rutgers game in 2014. This is your sophomore year, I believe.
Yep.
And the team is down. It's not going anywhere. End up being 5-7 that season. You were out in Rutgers for that game. Do you think Rutgers gave a damn that Michigan was down?
Nope. That crowd was juiced up. You can feel how badly they want to win, and you want to win every week. But again, I'm saying it's different. Like if they can say we beat Michigan, it's different. So
that's the price, as you say, and that's the price you pay by being one of the leaders. When the Buckeyes were down in 2011 with Luke Fickell, I didn't think Luke Fickell could coach that year. Dead wrong about that one. Luke Fickell is obviously a pretty damn good coach, but Michigan didn't care. 2011, okay, interim coach, blah blah blah. So what? They're wearing scarlet and gray, and that's all they care about. They're wearing the winged helmet.
And John, thanks so much for joining us. You were my professor. It's almost been a decade now, but I'm going to give myself some homework. I will read your book. I'm going to get your book and then I'll read your book. I'll give myself some homework. Let Them Lead, which is about coaching high school hockey, the worst high school hockey team in America, right?
That's right. We were ranked dead last out of 1,256, and 3 years later, we're in the top 3% in the country. I didn't cut anybody from the previous team. So, yeah, the General Motors CEO, Mary Barra, she's extolled it. Others have as well. So it's not just a hockey book. Yeah. You don't have to know hockey to get it. But I'll send you the book, Jake. It'll be part of your assignment. It's always been a pleasure, by the way. And listeners, I hope you appreciate Jake Butt. I saw this man coming, not only as a football player, everyone saw that, all right, but as a fine young man, took his work seriously, humble about his progress. Just really great stuff. It's wonderful to see you do so well. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have great leaders like yourself and Coach Harbaugh, and my dad's in town, so it's easy for me. I can just observe and follow. So I appreciate you, John. Thanks so much for your time, man. It's great to see you, and thank you guys for tuning in to the Lab presented by Wolverine.